Hi. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi. I have an iPhone, Zoom, but it's upside down and I don't know who's on. Hi. Oh, okay. You're muted. Can you please unmute?
Hi.
Hi. Hello, hello. I'm Dr.
Hi.
It doesn't say who you are on here. Can you tell me your name?
Oh, Lavella.
Oh, nice to meet you. Welcome to the program. You just joined this week, right?
Thank you. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Great to have you here. Big, big welcome. And I did
Thank you.
send over the extra login for your family
Oh,
already.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah, you're
you.
welcome. If you run into any technical issues, just shoot me an email. I'm pretty responsive. Okay.
Sounds good.
And
Sounds good.
were you able to get onto the closed Facebook group as well? It's
I did. I did.
Okay, great, great. So these calls are I know that you're just joining. These calls are very sometimes they're pretty busy and sometimes there's just not a lot of people on. So it can range. Sometimes it's like a handful of people, sometimes it's 20. I have no idea why that
Mhm.
happens. But for the first 30 minutes or so, I'll be doing teaching and then we'll have a Q&A for about an
Okay.
hour or however long you need. Okay. And you can keep your camera
Okay. Sounds
on,
good.
take it off, you could go in and out, whatever is convenient for you. It works for me and everyone else. So it's very
Okay.
good.
Sounds great.
Hi, Mylene, are you there? Um, yes. Hello, hello. I don't know if you can
Hi,
hear me.
can you hear me?
Hi, how are you? Yes, I can
Hi,
hear
I'm trying to figure this all out. Sorry.
you.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, thank
Um, yeah, we joined a couple weeks ago. My ex-husband signed us up. We have an older daughter. She's will be 18 next week, and it's been a journey, and we've tried everything under the sun. I'm a
Okay,
dietitian by training, so we've done a lot of nutrition already,
okay.
and I'm not, she lives with me. I have custody of her. Um, so I monitor her pretty closely, but now she's leaving to college and
Oh, yes, I remember we spoke briefly about that she's about to leave and for her to have a login, right? That's the
it could have been that my ex-husband had asked for that.
Oh, yeah.
She's super, like a little bit type A, super busy. And so she's she's been a trooper all these years. Just will try anything, if it was dairy, we were dye free, wheat free, gluten free, whatever free, we were free of all things for many years, and it didn't seem to make a difference in our lives. So anything that we tried, she'd be like, sure, let's try it. Acupuncture, done. Ayurvedic medicine, let's do it. Yeah, meditation, count me in. She's been a trooper. And she's been in two clinical trials, one that almost took her eyesight. So she had emergency surgery. She was on Dupixent, which caused the side effect is increased ocular pressure.
Oh, wow.
And um,
So sorry.
emergency surgery saved her eyesight. Went
Okay.
off that, then went on another medication last year and doubled over in just pain. And she, just, she's crying on the floor, pain from the side effect of this medication changed our lives in the sense that it cleared up her skin. But I just said, you know what? We got to start over. We have to start over. We spent 3 weeks when she was little at Jewish National in Denver. We've been through the gamut. We've tried everything. And just this morning, before she left to school, she says, Mom, I'm so miserable. Um, you know, she says, I'm just so itchy. And it's, God bless her. She's, you know, 4.05 GPA. She's like just kind of plows through. But, she's like, I don't want to have kids. Like I could never do this to someone else. I don't, I thought she'd be my one kid that would go to medical school. She's like, Mom, I'm just not that day. I just don't, I can't. I can barely take care of myself. I'm going to take care of other people. That's kind of where we're at. We're just like, okay, let's take a beat before you leave to college. Let's try juicing. Let's go back to the basics of nutrition. Let's strip everything and see if we can figure this out.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
Thank you for sharing. That's a really tough, long road.
Mm.
I hope that you get the answers that you're looking for. You probably know a lot of the information here now, going through the things that you already went through. But I think it's nice to like start from scratch. I really like how you phrase that. Like just start from the beginning. And of course, as you know, being a dietitian, the foundation of all of it is nutritional. So
Mhm.
here in this kind of program, and I know there's a lot of different nutritional approaches to
Mhm.
chronic illness. I wish there was more, and I wish there were more in conventional medicine that are nutritionally based, but the kinds of protocols, advice, recommendations that you'll see in this program are very much based on traditional wisdom with emphasis on healing the gut, because that's where I feel like I'm just through my practice working with kids who have eczema chronically, doing a holistic approach. It's gut health that you need to fix first. That's where we eliminate from. This is where we absorb everything in. This is where we see the biggest problems in kids today. And it's changing so much. And so this is like the foundation of everything. And so today is hello everyone, welcome. As more people come in, I'm just going to say hello and do a little bit of a orientation of what we'll discuss today. But it's going to be gut health, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today is what can you do in, let's say, 4 weeks to start. Like, let's say you're just starting from scratch, you want to do a reset, you want to start from the beginning, you want the fastest results in the shortest amount of time, and this is what I'll be speaking to you about today. It's a 4-week program. It can be longer, it could be shorter, you can customize it. These are general recommendations, and there's a lot of variability that you can implement to make it work for your family so it's not stressful, so that and we'll talk about that. So I just want to say hello as people come in. Hi, Maggie. Hello. Hi. Are you just recently joining the program?
Yes, I just
Yes.
recently joined.
Okay, big welcome. I didn't recognize your name from earlier, so big welcome. We're really happy to have you on, and I'm just gonna say hello to Mike and Loretta. Hi, welcome back. Dennis, hello. So hi, Dennis. You're also recently joining, right? Like this month? Yes.
Yes,
Great.
and our daughter, Belen, our daughter's mom is also on the line.
Okay. Is that Millen?
She's our
Okay,
kid that's
got it.
been-
Same child. Who's going to college and has an excellent GPA. You must be very proud. And I have Mike and Loretta on. Hi. I don't know if you don't have to turn on your cameras, by the way. I love it if you do, but if you don't, that's quite all right. And you could like pop in, pop out whenever you need. If you need to go earlier, that's completely okay too. If you miss any of these live calls, they are going to be all recorded. We do a little bit of editing and then we post them inside the Eczema Rescue closed group. I just wanted to make sure that you have all the pieces that you need. There are a lot of different pieces in the program. So when you signed up, you received a welcome email. Sometimes that welcome email goes into like a missing folder, spam folder. So just in case, I'll just tell you what's in that email. We have live calls. The schedule for the live calls is always posted inside the digital program. Once a month I update it. The live calls are usually 30 minutes of me doing an educational component. Sometimes it's general like this, where we speak about like, gut healing and the general protocol of the Eczema Rescue Program. And sometimes the calls are a bit more specialized. Every live call is saved both inside the actual digital program and also posted inside the closed group. So make sure that you have access to the closed group. It's not the Eczema Rescue Club, which is the open group. It has like 5,000 members. This closed group is where I answer all questions about every other day or sometimes every day. So you feel fully supported in between the calls. The digital program is like your textbook. It has a lot of information. The section that we are going to be focusing on, if you want to reference the digital program, is the Quick Start Conquer Eczema protocol. And just as a little bit of a background, I am a conventional pediatrician that my background is in hospitalist medicine. So my job was always to get really sick kids who are hospitalized for infections and life-threatening conditions better and back home with their families. And over the past say 6 years or so, I've been working as a holistic pediatrician. I have a practice in New York and New Jersey called Blossom Pediatrics. So if you're in New York or New Jersey and you're looking to kind of up-level your care or do additional testing, because I'm not your physician in this program, it's only for kids in New York and New Jersey, or if you're visiting the area. I'm actually don't have any appointments available for a little while, but that's always an option for you. Although the goal is for you not to need that at all. 90%, maybe 95% of what you need should always be just in this eczema rescue program, and like any other additional things. My goal is for you not to need it. My goal is for you is not to actually need this program anymore. So you have access to 6 months of this content, of the live calls, unlimited access to the digital library. And if you want anyone else to join, like friends or family, just shoot me an email and I will add them on free of charge. I would really like for this information to be as available to as many people as wanted. So let's just jump right into the big question. So a lot of you are just joining. The big question is, what can we do for our kids in, let's say, the next 4 weeks, step by step, that is going to make the most impact with their eczema? Now, most of the time when you implement these changes, which are all rooted in optimizing gut health, restoring the microbiome, most of the time you start to see results in about 30 days. A big warning is, whenever you have healing of the body, whenever things are moving, whenever the body is detoxing or reorganizing, it is more common than not to see progress that is not linear, meaning 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. So most of the time you'll see some improvements start to happen in about 30 days. Now, what is improvement? Improvement is when you start to see some of the chronic issues become better. And that doesn't mean eczema is there and it's not there the next day. What usually happens is the eczema flares are not as severe. Your child needs less and less steroid creams for these eczema flares. Maybe they're not as severe, or maybe the time between the eczema flares is longer and longer and longer. And so sometimes you'll still see, especially if there's something like an illness, weather change, any kind of stressor in the body, maybe an allergy trigger, you still might see some eczema flares. That's expected, but they're not going to be as severe. They're not going to be as frequent. And eventually, I would say eczema is the first to go usually, but then allergies start to fade as well. That's also the goal. And this is what happens when you work with gut health. Now, eczema is not the only system in our kid's body that is most likely affected by the root cause of what's been going on. And most of the time, the root cause of eczema is a problem with gut health. That is why so many of our kids have allergies and allergy triggers as well. That is why maybe some of our kids have a history of wheezing, or maybe they have asthma. So when we work with gut health, we're also working on the whole body, because that's really the foundation of all health of the body. So there is, and I don't know why more people don't do it, but I really recommend doing it. When you enter the digital program, you're going to see the actual Conquer Eczema protocol, the quick start. You'll have a lot of information there that's kind of optional. Like, you'll see very long videos, you see a huge a publication that I wrote about why your child might have eczema, asthma, allergies. You'll see information about me. All that is optional. There's a program outline where you see the calendar, optional as well. This is all great, but what you really want to focus on when you enter the program, when you just start, is to do something called the soft sign questionnaire. And that soft sign questionnaire is going to help your child, help you take a really honest inventory of what's going on with your child's health. It's going to look at all the systems, how they're doing behavior wise, how they're sleeping, how they're pooping, very important. Are they getting a lot of infections? Are the infections hard to treat? Are they bacterial infections? It takes a look at all the systems of the body, and that is called the soft sign assessment. It's under Start Here, Program Introduction. I would like for you to take it and save the results, because in about 30 days, you're going to do that questionnaire, that soft sign questionnaire again, and it's going to help you see on a more, in a more zoomed out way, if there's improvement in your child's system. So you might not see eczema go away like that. Hopefully you are. Sometimes that's exactly what happens. But you are going to see improvement in other systems. A very common system is actually, if your child has been suffering with any kind of gastrointestinal issues, that is a place where you'll probably start to see significant improvement. So I want you to take the next 4 weeks, if you're just starting off, or continue on the journey that you've been doing with more emphasis on quality, by doing the Conquer Eczema protocol, which is 4 weeks. And I want you to try to do it step by step. So step by step usually means week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. That is how we separate the 4 steps. And each one is intended to build off the last. So in week 1, and if you want to take notes, you can, but you could also just access the digital program where I'll explain everything in detail. There's videos to watch as well. If that's how you learn, that's available to you. So in week 1, I want you to really focus on removing refined sugar. That is a very inflammatory food. And the reason why we focus so much on removing inflammatory foods like refined sugar is because the body cannot heal if it's having a massive amount of inflammatory processes happening constantly. So you want to offload everything in week 1. So I truly recommend removing refined sugar. What is refined sugar? It's anything that is a sweetener. What is allowed is honey, which is raw, organic, unpasteurized, in moderation, of course. I'm not going to give exact measurements of how much honey. Is really no point in counting things out like this. Honey is very healing. Honey is anti-inflammatory. Honey is anti-allergy, especially when it's local. And I really don't think it's worth going out and buying a Manuka honey or honey from New Zealand or something that has been made really far away, because what you want is those local bees making that honey. So local, raw, unpasteurized, meaning not heated and not pressured honey, local beekeepers, farmers market. That's the kind of honey that you can use. I don't recommend cooking with it. Don't heat it up. It's going to denature a lot of the enzymes, and it's not going to be as beneficial to you. And your child can have as much fruit as they wish. So those are the only 2 sweeteners that are recommended. The other sweeteners you want to eliminate or at least significantly reduce. If you're wondering, but what about coconut sugar? What about brown sugar? What about monk fruit extract? What about all of those other things are refined sugars? And in their processed forms, even though they can potentially, like as a plant version, be very healthy, when it's refined and it's put in a box and it's packaged to you for you to purchase, that's refined sugar, and it's inflammatory, and it's not going to help your child heal. The second option is for you to eliminate gluten, because it has a ton of glyphosates, which are chemicals that are added to the actual grains when they're grown in order for it to grow better. Gluten itself, even though a child might not necessarily have like celiac disease, gluten itself is very inflammatory, but the glyphosates, that are the chemicals that are put on top of it so that the crops can grow better, more effectively, more efficiently, more economically in many regions of the world, they are very inflammatory for the gut lining on contact. And that is why I ask families to consider removing gluten for some time. About a month would be amazing. Don't worry, we'll bring that back. And I would also encourage you to remove dairy for about a month. Now, there's nothing wrong with dairy, and we can have a whole 2-hour segment on why dairy is a very misunderstood nutrient. Most dairy in the US, most of the time, is very inflammatory. It's refined. A lot of the processes that make conventional dairy, even if they're organic, take away from the nutritional value. So what you're left with is basically junk food. So a lot of kids improve significantly in just that first week, because we remove the things that are very inflammatory to their bodies. A lot of times dairy, gluten, or sugar are also big triggers for eczema. So what we're doing is removing some common triggers, but also allowing the environment in the abdominal, the endothelial lining, the lining between the mouth and anus, to really start to regenerate just by not triggering the inflammation and contact so very much. Now, there's also a lot of chemicals that might not be new for you. I think that if you're in this program, you're very health conscious already, but there's also an option to really think about the colors, the preservatives, the other chemicals in foods, especially ultra processed foods that are added to it, all those preservatives, the citric acid, the lactic acids, the colors, red, whatever, blue, whatever, the MSGs, all the calcium carbonates, all the different things in your child's foods that are not food. So take an inventory. I don't think you need to throw everything away, but maybe just start to eat what you have and don't buy it anymore, or maybe just get rid of the things that are really not serving your child any longer. Now, for a full list of what I think you can look at, please access the digital program. Everything is on lists, so you can really do an inventory. And that's all you're going to do in week 1. It is very rare for kids to get worse when you're just eliminating things. So if you notice that an eczema is getting worse, it's not from the removal of dairy, gluten, and sugar. I know that you might be worried for kids who are growing, but if there's enough calcium in your child's diet, you can get calcium in other sources very easily. I don't recommend supplementing calcium, but I just want you to keep in mind that the goal is a short elimination, not an elimination of gluten or dairy that is lifelong. We're going to bring these things back in after 4 weeks, step by step. Like once, if you're seeing that you have good results, you have an option. Once the gut heals a little bit, you have an option to bring gluten and dairy back very mindfully in a very specific order. I have that protocol there for you at the end of the 4 weeks, where you can go day 1, a little bit of dairy, see what happens, and so on and so forth. The goal is not to create an environment in your child's life where you have a significant amount of restrictions. That's not what we want. We just want to do a quick protocol that's going to deflame the whole system so that it can focus on healing. Now, week 2 is where we're going to replace nutrients. So some of you already know that eating organic is very healthy. Eating local is really important. Some of you don't know this. I know that we're in the winter, that there's not a lot growing in like the Northeast or the northern parts of the state or other countries where it's not harvest right now, but really try to focus on quality produce, quality meat that is free range, meaning that it's not conventionally raised, meats that are raised in sunshine, and cows that eat grass. So quality is key. You want to use those food products to to really optimize nutrition. And the key for week 2 is juicing. Okay, there are many different ways you can do juicing. If you don't have a juicer, you could do smoothies. Smoothing and juicing is 2 different things, though. I love smoothies, but if you're looking for the most benefit, the most anti-inflammatory way to get rid of eczema, like right then and there, start juicing. The most optimal way to juice is actually to pick produce that is local to seasonal to where you are, or at least as close to seasonal as possible. Organic, grown, picked when it's ripe. That's why seasonal is important. Now there's 2 different kinds of juice machines. One is a cold press method where things are not heating up, and the other is using centrifugal juicers where the produce is heated up. If you have a juicer, no matter what it is, just use it at home and that's fine. If you don't have a juicer and then you're in the market to buy one, get a mastication juicer because it doesn't heat anything up. It squeezes all the produce. You get a lot more of the actual product from every bite of produce, and the fact that it doesn't heat up anything means that it stays more nutritionally sound longer. It doesn't really matter what you juice. Of course, celery juice is having a huge, very popular moment. Everyone loves celery juice. I think it's fantastic. It's full of magnesium and it's full of electrolytes, and it's just so hydrating. But really, you can add anything to a juice. Now, kids who are just starting off with juicing, they really might not be very used to the taste. So I would really urge you to consider putting something sweet in there, like pear or apple, a little bit of the sweet. Optimally, you want to have starting off, you want to have about 50% of the juice greens and veggies, and about 50% of the juice sweet things like apples and pears, whatever will sweeten it. Maybe lemon. You could put ginger in there, which is great if your child is kind of okay with the taste. It's not for beginners. And as time goes on and as they're used to juicing, make it less and less sweet, more and more greens and veggies. Again, it doesn't really matter. I have my favorites listed of the juices for ideas, but quite honestly, you can't really go wrong. If your child is still not used to the taste, you could dilute it with water. That's okay too. It's not about quantity per serving. It's more about frequency in this case. So you want to be juicing at least 5 days a week. It doesn't have to be a large amount. So it could be for a small child, it could be like a quarter cup of juice. For an older child, a half a cup or a cup. It really, a small amount goes a long way. But when you're juicing does matter. So you want juice to be ingested on an empty stomach. That will make a huge difference because it could all be absorbed properly and go where it needs to go without it being in competition with other foods that need to be digested. So usually when I work with families from the beginning, first thing in the morning, I ask families to have their little one drink warm water with either a little bit of apple cider vinegar, nothing that will burn, or lemon juice. Warm water is key because it will open up all the blood vessels in the gut lining, in the gut, in the stomach, prepare everything for digestion properly. Apple cider vinegar, a little bit goes a long way. Just keep in mind that if your child is very sensitive to histamine, apple cider vinegar might not be best for them because it is a ferment. It is very rich in histamine. But if not, then it is an excellent digestive enzyme and it will help when ingested with warm water, at least water that's room temperature. First thing in the morning, a cup, maybe half a cup, a quarter cup, depending on the age. You're going to create an environment in your child's system that will allow for them to absorb things properly, optimally. And the next thing that they will be drinking is the juice. I don't want you to go out and buy juice from a store, even if it's organic, if it has all the cleanest ingredients, because anything that is sold in a store to a consumer needs to be pasteurized. So they might not say this is pasteurized, but they will say we used a pressure for pasteurization. Maybe they say they use heat. Either way, it kills all the nutrients. You're wasting your money. Don't do it. You have to go directly to like a juice place that is local, or maybe basically local, or make it yourself to make it worthwhile in any capacity. So that will be all of your week 2, is lots and lots of juicing. Now, if you start to see your child's eczema get worse in week 2, when you start juicing, it might be either, well, it might be basically a trigger or an allergy to that specific food. By the way, if your child is allergic to anything and your child's pediatrician, allergist, or dermatologist advise you not to have something specific, I don't recommend for your child to have it, even if I say this is healthy. You have to honor your child's own body, and there are a lot of different variations that your child can have. But when it comes to juicing, just pick something that your child has had in the past without any issues and juice that. It really will allow for as much anti-inflammatory components, not only directly in contact with your child's gut lining, but also in their system. And it is an excellent detoxer. So although we're removing toxins and inflammation in week 1, we are also detoxing heavy metals very naturally, and optimizing our child's liver function very naturally when we're replacing nutrients through juicing. And so that's all of week 2. Now in week 3 and week 4, that's where we start to see a lot of healing. And this is where you could start to see a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In week 3, we're going to use food to specific foods to help heal and seal the gut lining. This is very traditional wisdom. I'm not sure why it's not utilized more frequently when we're working with any kind of chronic illness and any kind of gut health issues. But I would say that one of the biggest things that you can do for your child is to have them drink stocks and bone broths at every single day in week 3, moving forward through at least the end of week 4. Stocks and broths. What does that mean? It means any kind of poultry or meat or fish that you want to use is fine. For kids who are younger, under 1 year of age, as long as they're used to having the foods already, you can put them into that stock. Stocks are short boil, bone broths are long boil. For anyone that's under 1, don't use salt. For anyone that's over 1, you can add high quality salt. There are instructions on how to make very specific stocks of bone broths inside the digital program. I would say start with stocks because they're easier to digest, because they are more delicious. So kids who are a little bit on the pickier side, are really a lot more open to it, like a simple chicken stock. And bone broths, they have a little bit of more pungent taste. Bone broths, they're also very healthy. Having a variety of different meat, poultry, and fish, and having a variety of stocks and bone broths to drink is key once your child is used to all this. If your child is sensitive to histamine, I would urge you to not keep things stored in the fridge too long, because histamines will actually increase little by little by little. And what if you're storing something? If your child is sensitive to histamine, stocks have a lot less histamine than bone broths. So a really great place to start is just a simple chicken stock. The quality of the ingredients makes a huge impact. You want free range poultry, free range meat. Grass fed is key here for meat. You want fish that is wild, not farm raised. The quality matters tremendously. You can also use healthy fats. Now, I know I mentioned that you want to remove dairy, but the kind of fat that we want to be using to heal and seal the gut lining is called ghee, Ghee. It is a clarified butter. It is usually very appropriate for kids who are dairy free. It's clarified. It doesn't have the components of dairy that kids are allergic to. It's just the fat. Other kinds of oils that you want to be using are organic extra virgin coconut oil, organic extra virgin olive oil. Please get rid of all those seed fats like canola and sunflower oil. Those are so highly inflammatory. So we're going to heal and seal the gut lining now with stocks, broths, and healthy fats. This works really, really well if you do it properly. And properly means the best ingredients, but also every single day, even multiple times a day. There is no maximum, but the minimum is 1 serving per day. Optimally in an empty stomach. Between meals is perfect. Like if there's a time in your child's day that they usually have a snack, I would offer a little bit of the stock or bone broth to drink instead of the actual snack that they're going to have beforehand, so that could all be absorbed and work optimally. So that's all week 3. Now in week 4 is where we're going to repopulate the microbiome. This is the support of what will allow your child's gut lining to be nice and healthy, which will prevent leaky gut, which will prevent all the antigens, the food particles, the toxins from coming into your child's system and making them so vulnerable and so inflamed, so vulnerable to having all of these triggers that are causing eczema. This will also allow for all the toxins to be eliminated, all the naturally occurring processes of the body that need to be detoxed to be eliminated properly. So how to do this best is to use fermented foods. Lacto-fermented foods are best. Ferments could be dairy-based or any kind of vegetable or fruit could be fermented. I think that a great place to start would be probably with sauerkraut, because it's so easy to find. Now, I'm not saying your child needs to go and have a side of sauerkraut with every meal. You want to make sure that it's raw, that it's wild fermented, that it's in a glass container. You can make it yourself. I have tons of recipes for you. You can just buy it. Any health food store will sell high quality sauerkraut. If you're looking to do this properly, you want to start very, very slowly. Sauerkraut has a lot more potent, or any kind of ferment has the potency with which the microbes exist, the right kinds, the most natural ones. The potency is uncomparable to any kind of probiotic that you could buy. Probiotics, even when they're very high quality, are in their billions when it comes to potency or colony forming units. But when we're talking about ferments, depending on where they are in their fermentation cycle, it's in the trillions of colony forming units per serving. So they're very potent, which means that if you go too fast and too hard and you give too much, you can have something called a die-off reaction, which is basically upset stomach, because the bad bacteria start to die very quickly. So you want to start with really small amounts. Excuse me. You want to start off with amounts that are in a few drops for a kid who's over 1. By the way, I'd like for you to start ferments for kids who are over 1. And if you're breastfeeding your child, or if your child is under 1, if you're breastfeeding, you can do all these steps. If your child is under 1, you want to start to just use, stocks, and then once your child turns 1, you can start using ferments. Now, if your child is sensitive to histamine, or if you're suspecting a histamine overload, don't use ferments. Very simply, start with probiotics. The kinds of probiotics do matter. Potency matters. You could spend years throwing your money away trying to buy probiotics that are not appropriate. And you have a few options for supplements. The first option that you have is to kind of guess. So one of my favorite probiotics for kids with eczema that has been very effective if they're not sensitive to histamine is called Claire Therabiotic, Klaire. Another kind of probiotic that is very effective, very potent, especially for kids who have eczema, is called Smidge Sensitive. Okay, I have links where to get both if you're interested inside the digital program. You want to make sure that it comes to you refrigerated and properly stored so it doesn't all die off before it gets to you. That's one option. Another option is to test your child's microbiome. I have been seeing significant, massive improvements, both in my practice and in families who are in the eczema rescue program already, who have had their child's microbiome tested with a test called Tiny Health Test. So in the past, as a functional medicine provider, I used to always be like, the technology is not there. I don't recommend doing gut health testing for kids if they're direct to consumer, meaning like you would order the test, they send you a kit, you collect a little bit of your child's stool, you send it back to them, the results come back to you. And why I like this test, that's because it is specific for kids and babies, and it is specific for kids with eczema, and they give you specific recommendations using the most advanced technology that is usable. So even in the families that I've been working with one-on-one as their pediatrician, this is the study that we've been working with that give us the biggest results. So if you're looking to do that, I have also information on how to get like a coupon for $20 off inside the digital program under week 4. Now, after 30 days of doing this well, meaning you can do it in 30 days. You could also take 2 months, 3 months. Go at your own pace. Don't stress your child out. Go slowly if you need to. Go quickly if you don't. If you're seeing a lot of flares, of problems, of stress on your child, they feel too restricted, go slowly. But after you've done like a good, at least a week of gut healing, of microbiome restoration using probiotics, or at least for a month of doing this protocol, you have an option to do food reintroductions. The way to do reintroduction of dairy and gluten is listed there. But if your child is still not better, I urge you to consider histamine overload. Okay, there is no specific test to check for histamine overload, but there are some ways to kind of like point you in the right direction. So for kids who have histamine overload, you might notice that those kids are the kids that have a lot of seasonal allergies, especially in the springtime, because the springtime comes a lot of mast cell deactivation, and so you have all of these histamine being released, and histamine overload means that the body can't get rid of natural normal histamine quick enough. There's nothing wrong with histamine. It is the body's natural way to work with inflammation, to heal the body, to protect the body. But if there's too much histamine and the body can't get rid of it fast enough, because the enzyme that sups up and gets rid of all the histamine is in the gut, and the gut is not working well, and the gut lining is not healthy, and the microbiome is not healthy, that might mean that there's just too much histamine circulating, and that can get worse with certain foods. So there's an actual whole list of foods to eliminate. Some of these foods are are just histamine rich foods. Some of these foods are foods that actually help the body release histamine. So I have a whole list, but you can also use that diagnostically. So if your child has sauerkraut or any kind of ferment and has a really bad eczema flare, lots of itching, redness, headache, that could be a sign of histamine overload. Also spinach, eggplant, tomatoes, let's say canned fish like sardines, vinegars, tomatoes, ketchup, citrus, they all have a lot of histamine. Histamine releasing foods are bananas, nuts, milk, papaya, pineapple. There's a whole list to look at. If your child is very sensitive to a number of these foods, even though they were not labeled as allergic to these foods, I would consider eliminating histamine releasing foods and histamine rich foods for about a month while doing this gut healing protocol minus the ferments, and just focusing very specifically on histamine specific probiotics. So that's how the 4 weeks will go. All of the information is specifically on what to do each week, and all the lists, the shopping lists are inside all the recipes, places to buy things like bone broths if you don't want to make it yourself, have been sourced for you. So you can actually, if you don't want to cook something, if you don't want to make your own sauerkraut, if you don't want to make your own bone broth, you can actually look at my recommended list and order from there. Things get shipped to your home frozen, if that's the case, if that's the way you want to do it. Don't let your like ability to kind of not, maybe you haven't made bone broth in the past, maybe you haven't fermented cabbage or beets in the past, and that's quite all right, because thankfully more and more as people start to focus on gut healing and gut health, a lot of more of these things are available for purchase, and you don't have to be like a kitchen maven to make it yourself. So this is what I wanted to go over today before we do a Q&A. I know that there's a lot of new families here, and some names I've been seeing for a while now. Hello, Liz. Hi, Angela. Hi, Tiff. Hey, Emily. I started a little bit earlier. You could always rewatch it once I post this inside the Eczema Rescue Program. But let's do a Q&A because I need to drink a little bit of water. So if you want to, we'll do it this way. It's a very small group today. So if you want to perhaps just either unmute yourself and ask your questions. The questions could be about what we spoke about just now, could be about anything. Tell us about your child, about how your path is going, or you can raise your hand and I'll be calling on everybody throughout our time together. And if you need to go, you could just log off. Right? So who would like to go first? Any questions?
Hi, I have a couple questions.
Hi, Maggie.
Maggie, so I've been doing gluten-free and dairy-free for a while before I found your program. And so it's been years, and I just was frustrated because it never went away. I just thought, okay, this needs to go away completely, but it's not. And so then when I found your program, I'm like, okay, then this is what I'm not doing. And I think it's that because I never did the bone broth and the so my question is okay, so bone broth, I haven't attempted to do my own yet, but do you know of some brands that are okay? I've been using Kettle and Fire. Is that okay?
Great question. I'm really glad you asked it. It's very important. A few really key points. First of all, it's wonderful that you have made the changes. Going dairy-free and gluten-free could be wonderful, and it can help some kids who are allergic to gluten and dairy, okay? But no healing will happen just by removing something. So this is kind of my pet peeve of life, because most, like, let's say half the people that could come into the program, they're like already health conscious and they've done everything that they thought to do, but for some reason when you're looking at information, it's like dairy-free, gluten-free, the holy grail of health. It's important. Most healing protocols, not just for eczema but chronic illness, MS, seizures, I mean autoimmune illness, thyroid problems, yes, they do focus on remove dairy, remove sugar, remove dairy, remove gluten, because they're inflammatory and you don't want to add inflammation if you're trying to get rid of inflammation. But there's really no healing that happens. So you're spot on. For everyone that's already tried dairy-free, gluten-free, it's helpful, but it's not healing. By the way, a lot of what I'm teaching in this protocol is based on a very effective protocol called the GAPS protocol, which is based on an older protocol where we really just work on gut health and gut healing to heal the body, but it's very restrictive, and that's not necessary for kids who have eczema. Okay, like for life. So if you are seeing a lot of the commonalities, it's because I was trained to be a medical provider in the GAPS protocol, the gut and psychology syndrome protocol. So anyway, point is that yes, you wouldn't really see much results unless there was an allergy to begin with. So that makes sense. So you're going to really focus now on juicing, on using stocks and broths, and on ferments. Bone broths, you don't have to make. Kettle and Fire is great. It's organic. It has great ingredients, but they use pressure cookers, and that is going to denature a lot of the healing properties of it. The only brand that I found that I love that makes things as closely to the real thing that I would do at home, like if I was going to make bone broth at home right now, it would be Brodo, Brodo. They would send it to your home. Whole Foods carries it now too in some places. It's Brodo. If you live in New York, you could just come pick it up in their outposts, or you could order it online. So I also really like it because it tastes good. Okay, so bone broth could be really nasty. Like some kids will be like, what is this? You have to get used to the taste. I actually don't love the taste personally. For kids who are very picky, you can use it's not the best way, but you can do it, especially as your child gets acclimated to their palate, acclimated to the taste. You can cook with it. So any food that you will have an absorption of liquid, like rice, like quinoa, right? It absorbs all the fluid it's in. If you're making a soup, the base of that could be that bone broth or a stock. So to answer your question in a very roundabout way, the brand that I recommend is called Brodo, and not Kettle and Fire, and I don't recommend using pressure cookers. In fact, in medicine, when we have kids who are very allergic to foods, very, very allergic to different foods, we specifically use pressure cookers to denature the proteins that their body doesn't, so the body doesn't recognize it as food anymore. So you're not getting the same nutrient value of the collagens, the glucosamines. There's also a supplement. This is kind of like next level. I don't think that supplements are really huge. Can you give me just 1 second? I'm actually going to show it to you. Give me one. Don't leave. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about.
Okay.
1 moment. Okay, sorry about that. Now, we know that we don't live in a perfect world, and I'm not a huge fan of supplements. Like in general, I really think that 90% of what you need is in nutrition, but you cannot always get your child to have what they need, right? And sometimes we're busy, and sometimes we skip things. So this is called L-glutamine powder. It's by a company called Claire, Klaire. It is one of the very few supplements. It's an amino acid that will allow the gut lining of your child or you to heal faster. And it's tasteless, really. It doesn't have allergens, so it's like easy for kids who are like sensitive to dairy or whatever, but you could throw it in a smoothie, and it's going to kind of like exponentially, it's going to like double the effort that you're putting in when you're doing gut healing protocol. It's one of the very, very few supplements that I recommend. So if you're doing this program, you can easily start the supplement. There's really no side effects. It's very, very safe. And it really will propel that healing process forward. And if you're looking for like a massive discount, I have a dispensary. So if you go on the digital program, you can click the link and use full script to order it. I didn't want to waste your time, but Brodo started making these soup mixes. Do not get them. This is not what I'm talking about. Do not get this pouch. What we're talking about is just bone broth. So they started making these like add-ons. This is nice, not important. It's just veggies, lentils. Not necessary. What you want is, I bought it just because I wanted to taste it, but you just want the bone broth. That's it. It's in like a circular container. Okay. So that's that. I hope that answered your question. Okay.
Oh,
Did
and
I-
just one last one.
Yeah.
Do you have a brand that you recommend for the sauerkraut? Because I was using Bubby's. Is that a good brand?
What is it called? Bubbies?
Bubbies.
Yes, I love Bubbies. I love Bubbies because it's delicious. You know how you shake it and there's like bubbles everywhere? That's because it's
Mhm.
alive. It is, you could taste how alive it is. I have a lot of brands that I love. I could rattle them off to you right now if you want. I could show them to you. I have a lot in the fridge. I have a long list, so it really depends on what's near you. Bubbies is great. It's wonderful. Hawthorne Valley Farm. I really like Fermentation Fairy for kids who are very picky. They make like a ferment applesauce. There's a list also inside the digital program of my favorites. Small Town Cultures is a really good one. They make cool things like fermented carrot sticks, fermented lemons. So you have other things other than sauerkraut, right? That you can have your child eat. I also like Cleveland kraut for the taste. It's, I know, not in a glass container, but it's just super delicious. They have one that adults love because I'm an adult and I love it, and it's aged in a whiskey barrel, a whiskey sauerkraut. So you can really play with it, and it doesn't have to be it really doesn't have to be just plain old sauerkraut. If you find in a store fermented carrot sticks, that's a favorite of kids because not only is it super portable, but it's a finger food and it's a carrot and it's pretty sweet. If you have a super picky child, if you could find fermented beets called beet kvass, Kvass. So when you ferment beet, it's like fermented beet water. It's called beet kvass. It's bright pink. It's very sweet. And for kids who are picky, you could throw it into a smoothie. Finally, I don't like kombucha. Most kombucha that you buy in a store might taste good, but it's junk food. It is ultra processed. They have to get rid of the alcohol from it. It's ultra processed. It's not what you need for healing. But there's one brand. It's a small company. It's called This Chick is Raw. And it is the most potent kombucha. There's about 100 different healing herbs inside of her batches. It is the most potent. I'll show it to you. Can you give me 1 second? Are you guys okay with that? I just want to show you what I'm talking about. Okay. If you really want to go hard with this protocol, This Chick is Raw. That's the name of the company. You just Google it. This Chick, like chicken, but Chick is Raw. So their main product is this probiotic elixirs. Don't get the ginger one. This bright. Look at how thick that is. So there's a leaf in there. Okay. I usually get mine by the gallon because I'm crazy like that, and I have a separate fridge. But there's about 100 different medicinal adaptogen herbs that are medicinal in each brew. I've never tasted anything so potent. This is better than most supplements that are out there in the world. It is so potent and fresh and alive. You want it to be alive. That I have to wait like 4 days after it arrives to me through transport for things to settle down before I can open it. Otherwise, my whole living room will be full of foam. That's how alive it is. They also make this incredible product called organic cultured vegetables. Do you notice how this is? So this is basically a combination of different veggies, because really you could ferment any fruit or veggie. It has so many microbes that are naturally found, in nature. They're not GMO probiotics. So what we have here is what's in here: carrots, beets. That's why it's orange. Different kinds of cabbages. There's also, yeah, carrots, cabbage, organic cucumber, and beets. I really like this because you don't have to have your child eat the actual salads. You can take a teaspoon of the liquid, put it into a smoothie, and this is more potent than any probiotic that you can find. But just keep in mind, ferments have the most amount of histamine. So it's very healthy for gut healing and microbiome restoration. But if your child is just starting off in the process and they don't have enough, their microbiome and their gut lining is so is not strong enough to create enough of the enzyme that gets rid of histamine, DAO, that you might need to do like a month of no histamine, allow the body to heal using probiotics like smidge sensitive, and eventually that won't be an issue anymore. Okay, I hope that helped, Maggie.
So
Yes.
just so you're saying you don't have to use the actual sauerkraut, you can just do the juice?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely, 100%. One is not better than the other. Yeah. For the savory ones, you can put them on top of, I love to put them on like avocado when you're making like guacamole. Instead of salt, you can put them, as long as the food is not too hot where it kills everything off. Like not too hot usually means you could put it in your child's mouth and they're not going to scream that you burned their tongue off. That's what I mean by not too hot. Okay. All right. Yeah, and if you have any other questions, like if you start something and if you have questions, just check it and ask inside of the group in between calls. Okay. All right. Okay. Liz, hi. You had a question, right? Are you there, Liz? I see your hand raised. Hey, Liz. You're muted. Hello, cutie pie.
Say hi, Dr. Mom.
Oh my
Hi,
God,
say
look
thank
at
you for
this.
all your help.
You're so
Say thank you for all
welcome.
your help. That you just answer all my questions because
Okay.
she just got off of having COVID and having a round of 10 days of antibiotics. She had a really bad ear infection.
Mhm.
So we started again with the program. Yes, so you just answer all my questions
Okay.
because she's very histamine sensitive. If she eats something with high histamine, she'll start breaking out. But I hadn't needed to use the and she's now eating oranges and like she's not breaking out. So
So
yeah,
she's getting citrus now. Okay,
yes.
there's so many new faces on here. I just want to give them a little bit of hope, okay? When we just met, was it like, I don't know, 6 months ago, a year, 6 months?
May of last year. Yeah, May of last year.
Okay, May. So like June, July, August, October, November, December. Like 9 months. Okay. So her cheeks were bright red, right? Bright red, scratching.
No, it was her cheeks, the back of her elbows. She's always had a really bad one on the back of her leg, a rough spot which like the size of my thumb. It was really big and it was really gnarly. I could never get that one under control. And then she started with like a lot of bumps on her torso. So she started getting like all the signs. So that's when I said, like, we even took her to the dermatologist and they're like, yeah, hydrocortisone 2%, she'll outgrow it. I'm like, no, she cannot be on that for 3 years. Like, I cannot have that. I need to get on board, like, what's going on with her.
And then just summarizing, what changes have you made in the beginning that worked?
So I did your 5-day eczema, and every day that I would do it, I would implement something for that whole week. Like starting with like no milk. It was really hard with my mother-in-law, with my husband, but still we actually went on a trip and I ran out of milk. So she didn't have any. So we're like, oops. But then she noticed, like, from the night to the morning, her redness had come down. So I'm like, it has to be the milk. And then we did the no wheat. And then I started implementing the smoothies and the juices. It's still a hit or miss with those. And she'll take them one day and I pray to God she does. And if she doesn't, that's fine. But every day, like, I try to give it to her.
You put
And
them
I started yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I started putting them on freezers, and then I also did the bone broths, and I do use the Instapot though, but I do it on slow for like 10 hours. I do it for slow 10 hours, and also the chicken broths, and I freeze them and I use them for all her food. We went organic for her, and slowly but surely, it just started. All of the ones on her body, they're gone. Like she has no eczema, only the discoloration that she still has.
That will go away.
And if she has a flare, like I'm expecting a little bit of flare because she's having oranges, so I know this. But at least like I know now to put a little bit of like a little bit of an ointment as a barrier to
Yeah.
help her. So right now that it's winter here in Arizona, it's super dry. So I try to do it 3 times a day now. So I'm preventing it. I'm one step ahead of that. And I'm also doing her body with like shea butter. Because she's actually also a little bit sensitive to the oatmeal.
Yeah.
So when I bought every single baby eczema product that was out there, and nothing helped. It just made it worse. And I'm also doing the baths, the sea salt baths. I'm doing 15 minutes and then I rinse her off, and then I do um, the pipette shampoo at the end, at the very end, so that it doesn't stay in her body for that long, and then I rinse her off. And yeah, that just back in December where she had COVID, she was perfect.
Mhm.
No irritation. She would have, sometimes they would give her things that I knew that would make her break out, like salmon, and she would have a little bit of redness, but that was about it. And the next day she was great. I also started doing hibiscus with honey, like the honey from here locally.
Yeah.
I've gone more to the farmers market to get like everything that's in season. Um, and that's just, it's been month by month, day by day. I've seen so much progress in her. Also, her digestion so much better. She doesn't have like hard poops anymore. It's been wonderful. And now that I'm in the program, now I'm learning more and I'm implementing more stuff. And like when she had that flare, I wasn't panicking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't feeling desperate. I was like, okay, I got this. I just have to start back, cut back the dairy, cut back the sugar, start putting more bone broths. Now she likes them. She likes the little, the because I put a little bit of lemon, and now I know I can put the sauerkraut juice in there. So that's a good tip. I didn't know that. Um, but yeah, I'm really grateful that she's really a good eater. So she'll try things.
Okay. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for bringing her today. So that also really excited to like you see how eventually, first of all, like just putting creams and lotions on top of things is not gonna work. It's an inside out problem for most kids. And eventually histamine overload starts to go away because the enzyme that breaks down histamine is in the gut. So as she gets better and better, and as you can see, her gut health is improved too. So I'm so happy to hear that. I did. You mentioned colds. Colds, yes, they're triggers, and any stressor in the body, colds, change in weather, can really act like a trigger, but it's not as bad as it was. She's on steroids now?
No. So the last time that I used the hydrocortisone, the 2% one was when she had a flare because she was really itching and she was like grabbing her cheek. So I was like, okay, I should use it at night. But I only had to use it once. And right now, I mean, she did have a little bit of flare and I was expecting it because she did have a little bit of, you can see it there, but it's not as bad. I mean, it's nothing compared to where she started.
Yeah, and that's great. And I just want to point out also there's this idea that your child will just outgrow it. Like, how many of you heard this before? It's not true. Your child will not just outgrow it. In the past, kids used to outgrow eczema when it was mild and it was rare, but now you have about 12% of kids in the US have chronic eczema. So not just like a one-off and once a year they're on steroid creams, but chronically, like more than 3 months have nonstop eczema, and 10% of adults have eczema. So statistically your child will just outgrow it 2% of the time. That's kind of that's not so it's not true anymore. But your child will outgrow it if you give them the building blocks that they need to heal from the inside out. I'm so happy that it's been working for you. And also you mentioned detox baths, and I didn't speak about detox baths just now. And the reason is because we can't do everything all at once. You have an option to implement detox baths. Angela, you asked me a question. Can I start the detox baths in week 1? Yes, you can start the detox baths in week 1 while you're taking things out. Detox baths are things that you can add to a bathtub that are going to help your child's skin. Now, it's a hit or miss, so you have to kind of test it out. So there's the recommended detox baths, you just pick one and try it, are Dead Sea salt, Epsom salt, bentonite clay, apple cider vinegar, and baking soda. You just pick one of those and you put a little bit in the bath. You could look at the guide inside the program and you can start those baths. I wouldn't do too many changes at the same time. I wouldn't put them all together. I would just kind of go like little by little, so you can start that as well. That's an option for you. I wouldn't start detox baths in weeks 3 or 4, because if you add a lot of things into the system very quickly, that might stress your child's body out, and you're just going to have an eczema flare. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress just means your body's responding to something, and if you have too much healing too quickly, if it's too aggressive, if there's too much being pulled out with detox baths and too much going in, like magnesium healing properties going into your system too much too quickly, is not what we're looking for. We want a very gentle, holistic approach. Angela also asked inside the chat box, can GERD, or that stands for gastrointestinal reflux disease, be system related to eczema? I truly believe that it's all the same system. The system is a gastrointestinal system that is the foundation of both gastrointestinal problems and chronic problems like autoimmune disease, eczema, allergies, and asthma. So yes, so I hope that that by working on eczema, any kind of digestive issues will also start to resolve, and the chances of developing other atopic illnesses, like the atopic triad is when you have a child who has eczema, then they have a much higher chance of having allergies. Some of you already have kids with allergies, and then same goes for asthma. Or if you have a child with allergies, they're more likely to develop chronic eczema. So they go hand in hand, and what we're trying to do is making sure that your child does outgrow it, like in the next 6 months or less, or about, or the next few years, and doesn't turn into an adult with this chronic problem. Thank you so much, Liz, for sharing your story, and I hope that this winter dry weather is not too much of a trigger. Okay, let's see, Tiff, let's go with Tiff now. I'm gonna pin you. Okay, hey Tiff.
Hi.
Hi.
My daughter is 2 and we're about a month into the program. She has eczema patches, and they've always been there. And on the program, there were a couple days I saw that her legs were no longer itchy and they were starting to heal. But then it only lasted a couple of days, and then now it's back, and it's hasn't gone away again yet. So I suspect a histamine intolerance for her, because I've noticed bad reactions with tomato, eggplant, citrus. I also tried adding a ferment to her, a smoothie for her, and she started itching shortly after. So I think that the next thing that I need to try is to remove histamines. But I'm looking at like the high histamine list of foods as well as histamine releasing foods, and just looking at this list, I'm like wondering, what do we eat? Because like bananas, she loves bananas. Chocolate, I give her Honey Mamas. And we eat a lot of fish, because I am still nursing her, and I don't eat other meat. I only eat fish. And
Fish is fine. It's canned fish that's a problem.
oh, okay. The list that I'm looking at has fish under histamine releasing. Okay, so if fish is okay, there's still a lot of foods on there, and
Okay. But let me just kind of point, like, what do you feed your child? So first of all, I want to point out that histamine is additive. So your child has enough ability to get like enough DAO, or that's the enzyme that gets rid of the histamine in your child's body. There's some of it, and then it gets used up, and then there's no more, and that's when you start to see problems, when histamine is just circulating. So it's additive, meaning a little bit of histamine is not going to cause a problem. A lot is going to cause a problem. So I would like for you to focus on the most histamine rich things. There's actually a chart you could look at. I think that just a little bit of banana when nothing else is going on is not going to be a problem. You also have an option, and I think this might be a very good option for you, to start a supplement that might be very helpful, like for about a month. And that is, did I put that here? It's kidney extract. How old is your child?
She's 2.
Okay. Okay. So, give me 1 second. Okay, so you can cook kidney, which is very complex and no one likes to do it. Or you could actually start a supplement. The brand of the company is called, I have to add it to the list. It's called Ancestral Supplements, if you want to just jot it down. And
Okay.
and they have kidney supplement. And kidney, it's basically cooked, dried up, ground up kidney in a capsule. You open the capsule, put it on food or whatever. That is the most natural form of DAO, the enzyme that
Okay.
gets rid of histamine. I'm gonna add it to this list shortly. So you can supplement DAO out from the outside, which won't create an overload in your child's system. I guess the chocolate you have to get rid of. Bananas are pretty high in histamine, but if you choose some of the things that are like not so high, maybe a little bit of citrus, like a little bit of pineapple. So there's like ferments that have a lot, and then there's like other foods that have a little bit or release it just a little bit. So kind of pick your battles, because a lot of like a citrus equals 1 tablespoon of ferments in terms of histamine. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was also wondering if I should start the smidge sensitive probiotics, since I can't I'm not giving her ferments.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And yes, definitely start those. So it's either ferments or probiotics, and smidge sensitive is my favorite one when it comes to a histamine sensitive probiotic that is effective.
Okay, we did the Tiny Health gut test, but it's like 4 to 5 weeks to get it back. So it's it's a lot of time that I'm waiting. So I should probably just go ahead and get that probiotic, and then I can see what they recommend and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I also like them because they do look at histamine. It's like the first company that is able to measure it. So you could see if there's histamine overload when you did the test.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Um, then I also wanted to ask, so I don't have a juicer, and I was trying to not buy a juicer, but I haven't been able to find any good juice options. I wonder if there's different names. I look at the the juices that are sold at juice shops. It says that it's cold pressed, but it's also bottled, and they say that it lasts like 3+ days.
Okay. Is it like
So
a
Oh,
small
wow.
company, or is it like a is it like a small company is what I mean then?
yeah,
Okay.
well,
You
this
just
chain, but I think they make their juices in store, and it's labeled cold pressed. But then I
Okay.
wonder how it lasts so long.
So, okay, a few things about that. Cold pressed means that they're
Do you want me to put it
extracting
on your
without
head?
heat. So that's the gold
And
standard. Oh, let me
you want
just,
one?
if you're not on mute, please mute yourself. Thank you. So cold press just means that the process with which they extract the juice is cold, like mastication. They're not using centrifugal juicers. So that's great. That's standard actually in the industry. What you want to ask them is it pasteurized?
Okay.
Okay, just yeah, they'll tell you if they make it in the store, they're probably not pasteurizing it. Now, 3 days, 4 days is not a long time. When I'm talking about like lasting a long time, it's like this juice is good for 3 weeks, a month. 3, 4 days, because it's closed tightly, that's a normal amount that it lasts when they bottle it right then and there. So that's the one that you want, not the one
There
that's
was
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
there was one that I bought, and it said that it was cold pressed, but then it also said that it was high pressure.
if you know, you could actually take a picture and post it inside the group and I'll take a look. I'll like
Okay.
look at their website and we'll take a look. And then you're not wasting your money.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Great questions. Okay, lower hand. All right, so let's see who is next for questions. Christina, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? How's everything going?
It's going.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I see her better. I mean, it's been a roller coaster. I actually make a year next month since I joined the program, but it's been a lot of ups and downs. Hold on, I'm still breastfeeding. Okay. So lately what I'm noticing is like she doesn't really go like a week without a flare up. And like it's not like huge. Like I noticed she's healing from the flare ups faster now, but they still pop up. So like I was never able to start ferments because I remember you always saying like, oh, start, when there's no flare up or anything. And like whenever I'm like, okay, let me try, there's always some type of flare up or like I don't know, she was teething her molars and now the top ones came out, now the bottom ones are about to come out. But I feel like it's always something. So I don't feel like she's been more than like a week and a half, like completely clear. The good thing is when she's clear now, her skin looks good. There was a time that I barely ever saw clear to begin with. But I'm not sure what it is. Like one of the things I was gonna ask, because I saw a lot of people talking about juicing, like I'm not that consistent with it. Is that something that I should do daily for her?
yeah, so daily would be optimal in a perfect world. Also very helpful is a few times a week on an empty stomach would be great. Have you tried eliminating histamine-rich foods?
So that's another thing. She doesn't eat any histamine
Okay.
foods, like still gluten, dairy, all that, and the histamine foods. I haven't even introduced any.
Okay.
Be-
I would say, I would say gut health testing now.
Yeah, so I did Tiny Health.
Did you get the results yet?
It came out 85% beneficial, which I was like, okay, that's not bad. She did have like a higher bacteria and entero. I gotta remember the name, but it was a type.
Enterococcus?
I think so. One of those. So I did get something like that. I have her on probiotic. I have her on vitamin D. Her vitamin D levels came out good. I spoke to you about it that her iron levels came out low. Her iron and her ferritin is low, but her hemoglobin is fine.
Yes.
So
Right.
what is that?
That's so in order, I can't like diagnose her or treat her because I'm not her doctor, but usually when in general, when you have a normal hemoglobin, the low ferritin levels by itself or the other markers, if they're off, but with a normal hemoglobin, that's normal. You can't really look at those with any concern as long as the hemoglobin level is normal.
Oh, okay, because the doctor did say that, but I was confused. He said give iron pills if you want, and I was like, what?
It could be very constipating. So it depends on what her level is, but I wish I could like tell you exactly like the plan, but I can't because I'm not her physician. So you have to kind of look at the whole picture. But in general, when you have a normal hemoglobin level, if there's like a whole bunch of other markers, TIBC, CMV, blah blah blah, right? Ferritin. If those markers are up or down, it doesn't really matter as long as the hemoglobin is normal.
Okay.
Kind of, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Use those markers when the hemoglobin is low.
Okay. So one test I am waiting for the results on. I did an ERMI test for mold just to see.
Yes. Okay.
So I did one for the insurance in the house with my bathroom. So it tested my bathroom and my room, and that one came out fine. But now I'm waiting for the ERMI, which got the whole house. Just because I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I mean, she gets better, but then something keeps popping up. And I mean, I've been pretty good. Like, she eats really good. Another thing, I feel like she's not absorbing all the nutrients. One, she does eat a lot of meats, like chicken, turkey, and she's on the low side, like she's in the 15 percentile, like 10 percentile, I think. So she's gaining slowly now. There was a time she wasn't gaining, but I feel like she should be heavier. Like her appetite has increased, which is good. But I what can I do for absorbing nutrients? I tried a bitter and she flared up on it because it had orange peel.
The most important thing you can do to make sure your child is absorbing nutrients properly is to have a gut lining that doesn't have any leaks in it. And the most important thing you can do is have her drink stocks and bone broths at like twice a day, not a large amount. How old does she know? She's 4, 3. How old does she know?
She's 17 months now.
Oh, okay. So I would say a quarter cup to a half a cup of bone broth or stock twice a day and between meals is the best thing you can do to optimize absorption. Okay.
Okay, she does drink that a lot, but I do only do the chicken one. Is that bad that I'm continuously doing this?
No, it's not bad, but the different kinds of meats and poultry and fish have different forms of collagens and amino acids and glucosamine, the gut lining, so maybe rotate them a bit.
Okay.
So that, and then start the supplement glutamine to heal her gut lining.
That I should add that.
Yeah.
Okay, one question about that. I went like on a live call of like another physician, and she mentioned how that one she doesn't really recommend. I just want to know your input on it because she says that it causes some type of like behavior issues, like with sleep. And is that something you're aware of or no? Okay. I got a little bit nervous about it because I was like, I mean, I'm doing Nate for her as well.
Okay,
Nate,
that's good. That
yeah.
works well with this protocol.
Yeah.
So that
It's
works
been good
well.
that they told me like, oh, you should start a glutamine and I haven't because I had heard that.
Maybe start slowly.
Okay.
And of course, I'm not huge in supplements. Like we've been speaking for a while. I don't recommend supplements a lot. You know that. So like,
Yeah.
to say like you've done this and this and this, so you've done the groundwork. This supplement might help with absorption because it will help heal and seal the gut lining. Start very slowly. It's all very dose based. So maybe start with 1/8 of a scoop and then work your way up. Like maybe 1 gram and then work your way up little by little, making sure that there's no sleep disturbances.
Okay.
I think I can understand why they might say that it's because most neurotransmitters are serotonin, 80 to 90% of serotonin, and about 80% of dopamine is made in the gut. So if you're healing the gut, there might be some changes to not in a negative way, but to anything that is neuroendocrine related. So I can see how that could be.
She's trying to talk.
Hi, you are so cute.
Look how big she's gotten. Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because at night she doesn't really itch, but she itches a lot the minute she wakes up in the mornings. It's like a morning thing. It's weird. But I don't know. So besides that, like, what do you feel like that could be going on that she hasn't? I mean, does healing take this long sometimes? I mean, she's had a few. We did have to put on antibiotics in October because she got that big from the plant that I told you. I don't know if you remember that her grandfather like put a plant all over her, thinking it was gonna heal her, and she ended up having a crazy ass like reaction.
Oh yeah. I mean, for some kids it does take a long time, but overall she's better.
Yeah.
So the question is like, what am I missing, right? What
Yeah.
else can we do?
Yeah, like I'm doing Nate. She doesn't eat. She eats really good. I don't eat any of, not even eggs.
I guess the next step would be to do food sensitivity testing. Is there a functional medicine or was there like a naturopath you were working with?
No.
So basically the next step would be food sensitivity testing, not allergies. That's naturopathic or functional medicine.
Okay, to
Regular.
food sensitivity, maybe something she's eating. Okay. And then the mold, do you see that being an issue? I mean, I guess I'll find out soon with the mold.
That's great that you're testing it.
Okay. And now another test that I hear a lot, the oat test, which is like for yeast. How would I know?
I do the oat test all the time, but I stopped using it since Tiny Health came out with their newest tests.
So, I actually ordered a new test for her because
Okay.
I'm waiting for it to come so I can send it off. And I'm doing one for me too, since I'm still breastfeeding, which I'm dying to get off. Because sometimes I feel like maybe the connection of me being stressed with her. I don't know.
I don't I don't know, maybe there might not help, but I mean, it really depends on the stress, but still breastfeeding is really best. So I can't like sit here and go, because you're stressed you should stop breastfeeding. That will never happen. I will never say that.
Mhm.
'Cause- yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not the breastfeed. You got
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
Getting better. Everything will be okay. For her,
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of a longer journey. For others,
Yeah.
it's shorter. For her, it's longer, and she's generally better. And you're doing everything you could possibly do.
Yeah, I'm doing the chiropractor. I'm doing Nate. I'm doing the eating like super good, all organic. I never brought back the top, like the dairy, because she's allergic to dairy. I never brought gluten, soy, like anything inflammatory. But I'll add the glutamine then. That would be, so it's something I give daily, right? Even if
Daily.
okay.
Yeah. And
Well,
of
thank
course,
you.
ask your pediatrician before starting. Like with any supplement, make sure that you ask your child's personal or everyone else too. So
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh wait, last the
yes.
apple cider vinegar. I know that you said that is for what exactly?
So apple cider vinegar is a ferment. So if she's sensitive to histamine, don't use it. But it's a very it creates a pH in the stomach that lemon does the same thing. It's very alkaline, and it creates a pH in the stomach that in itself allows for all the other digestive enzymes that break down food to work better.
Got it. Okay. Okay. I tried it a few days. She only drank a little bit, but I don't know if it affected her or not. But I guess I'll stop it for now, just to see what's going on. Dile bye. She's a happy baby, so that's a good thing. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Take care.
You too.
All right. Great questions, everybody. This is a great call. Let's see.
How do I mute myself? Oh, here it is.
Maggie, did you have another question?
Oh, yes, I just had one more question. So in your program, you talk about the food reintroductions, and I was just thinking about that just worries me a little bit just because I've been doing no gluten and no dairy, and then just recently no sugar for my son, and we took him also to this person who did muscle testing, and then is also now doing this NAET. And she says that he can't have gluten, dairy, oats. He's fine with eggs, I guess. But so
Yeah.
when it comes, I mean, should I ever reintroduce gluten in dairy? I don't know if I should do that. And then also with my other kids, because I've learned from your program that it's inflammatory, should I just not let them eat it too? Or I don't know. I'm just confused about the gluten dairy stuff.
Okay, so I really don't think gluten is necessary for life. It's just so altered and it's delicious, but it's not like very nutritious. Dairy can be nutritious if it's the right kind. If you have a very, very young child, like a child who's under 1.5, if they don't have certain foods, they might have a higher chance of developing allergies to it. So that's something to consider. If you ask different people about what they think, they're going to give you different answers. There's no one right answer. I think that it's optimal to have a child who's able to have all the things without having any issues. If you did muscle testing and they said that your child shouldn't have it, maybe do the program, heal a little bit, and then consider retesting, because the results might look very different in about a month or two with muscle testing. So that's why it's impossible for me to say, because someone told you through muscle testing that it's not good for them, that doesn't mean it's not going to be good for them forever. Right? So I also think that it would probably be best to just look at the next month and not beyond that. Because from my experience working with hundreds of thousands of families in this capacity, I would say that if you're trying to like solve the problem for more than a month in advance, it's impossible. Things look very different when you're done something for about a month. You can't possibly predict what it's going to be like and after that. It's not even, it's pointless.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my recommendation. What was your other question about your other child? Can you repeat that?
Oh, that I mean, should I just kind of I don't know, just learning that, you don't recommend the gluten. So, oh yeah, so you were saying, I don't know, I guess that you didn't, whether I should allow my other kids to have gluten and
Oh,
dairy.
I think that I think it's nice for the whole family to do something together. And I think that removing dairy, gluten, and sugar for the whole family like once a year is just a nice detox to do. So
Mhm.
maybe instead of having some of these things in the house and then it could get kind of confusing. Maybe have
Mhm.
all of you on the same page for about a month and then reevaluate.
That's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I did have one other question. Oh, so with the people who do your program, do they ever experience flare-ups again, or will
Yeah.
this ever completely be gone? Because my son was doing better, and then he got a little bit of a cold, and he had like green snot and everything like that. And I feel like, okay, then he started flaring up again. Then it's been raining more, and then I don't know if there's a connection. Like, do we have a moldy house, and he has a flare-up? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just wondering, will it ever completely be gone, or is this something that will come and go?
Okay. I think you came in right after I did exactly this answer when it just came on. It said, when you're just joining the program, I need for you to know that healing is not linear. So if looking at like the process of healing, and this is time, and this is
Mhm.
eczema, and this is your child, it's never like this. It's
Mhm.
always up and down, up and down, up and down, but you're always getting better, meaning 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Almost always you will see a little bit of a regression when there's a stressor. Stressor most likely for kids is not like stress for, so I gotta go to work and I have deadlines and whatever. Stressors for kids are colds is like number one, being sick with something. Another stressor is changing weather. This is literally what I said, and this is literally what you're asking me. So I just want you to understand that it's not just you, and it's common. So mold could be a huge stressor, change in weather is a huge stressor, whether that might be springtime is coming or winter is coming, or it's raining a lot and it's moldy. So mold is a big one too, but you could always check your house for that, and that's not a bad idea. Healing is usually 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It doesn't mean you're never going to have another flare, but when someone is succeeding in this program, what it means is maybe 6 months from now, they're not needing steroids anymore, but they used to in the past. It looks different for different kids. For some kids, it means we're 3 months after starting the program, and this is the longest period of time without a flare. Or maybe it means we still had a flare, but because it was really bad before, and we had flares like every month, and we needed to use steroids all the time. But this flare was just like a half a day, and it was nothing, and it was so easy to get rid of. That could mean that's what the improvement that I'm talking about. Eventually, the goal is for your child to never have any eczema ever again, but I can't tell you how long it will take. I don't know. For some kids, it's easy, and for other kids, it takes a few years. It also means that if your child was on steroids a lot, I don't know if it was your child, but like if a child has been on steroids for years, their healing journey is going to look so different than a child that, just kind of came upon this problem very recently and you're doing a more of a preventative measure. It will look different for a 12-year-old than it is going to look for a 2-year-old because they've been with this issue for a long time. It would look different for kids who have a very strong family history because you have all those genetics to work against. It will look different for kids who were on steroids for years and now they're having withdrawals from eczema. So withdrawal from steroids rather. So it's always a little different, but I can say that, even if with this protocol, other protocols that more and more providers are doing gut healing protocols, root cause healing protocols. The point is like, don't rely on just steroids to fix the problem. They don't do that. That's not their intention. Their intention is to mask symptoms. They do that really well. They're excellent for that. But if you're stuck using steroids and it's not going away and there's allergies and things are not great, and your child is itching and is not sleeping, pick this program, find some other provider or doctor or anyone that you resonate with and try that root cause gut healing approach. It's really it's very empowering. So, and it helps a lot of kids. And I'm very happy with the results. And if I found anything that worked better, I would share it with all of you. So,
And then last question, if I do smoothies instead of juicing, is that still okay?
it's okay, it's different. It's not the same thing. It's not going to pull inflammation out as much. It's not really intended to, it's going to replace nutrients, but not the same way. In a perfect world, it would be juicing.
Juicing.
Smoothies
Okay.
are great too if your child is not into it. I like juicing because you could throw a lot of things in there, lots of greens. I like smoothies because you can put L-glutamine in there. You can put sauerkraut in there. You can put handfuls of leafy greens, and your child won't know. And if they're still picky, you could put everything into an ice pop mold, put it in the freezer, and that's a super sweet treat. So that's why I like smoothies, but they're not the same thing. There's a whole very long explanation on this inside the digital program. If I read the whole digital program to you though, here it would be a whole lot of talking. So take a look at that section if you're interested, if you want to know more information about how they're different. Okay, Maggie?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You are welcome. Great questions. Liz, did you have another question?
Yes, regarding the gluten, because
Yes.
it's really hard for my mother-in-law. She helps me with now I have two babies. My son is turning 1 in February, so sometimes it's hectic here. So she helps me a lot. But it's usually the same old, I'll just make her something like macaroni, and I try as much as I can to allow the information that I receive from you to give it to her, but it's just sometimes it doesn't land well. I've asked her to buy organic, and I've asked her to buy for because sometimes she wants to give her spaghetti. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna give her, just don't give her the sauce or put some barrier, because she's very sensitive to the tomato sauce. Is it do you have a preference for spaghetti that comes from Italy? Because we do have a little store that imports from Italy pastas. Is it really a difference between buying it from out of the States than the one that she buys at the Barilla one, for example?
Yes, there's a huge difference. So yes, the answer is yes. There's a very huge, big, giant difference between the wheat in Italy specifically, also nuts in Italy, versus wheat. Oh, and cornmeal too, in the US. So yes, if you have access to Italian wheat, then it still has gluten, but it might not have as many glyphosates and chemicals, and it's more
Okay. Yeah, because I've gone out of my way to try not to have her, and obviously the ones that they sell, the rice one and all the organic, that's still processed in my head. So I'm trying to tell her yeah, it says gluten-free, but it's still very processed. It's still not good for her. And I can see it immediately when she comes back, she has a flare.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's the food that she was giving her. There's so much I can control. But if I could if I know now, if I can buy her, it's a little import store that they bring it. So I'll just buy it and give it to her and say just feed her this. That would benefit me a lot. So, but I just want to know if it was different. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good point. It's nice to have help, but sometimes there's a lot of opinions and people helping, and you're not the only person feeding your child. So, and then let's see. Oh, Tiff asked a question. What do you recommend dehyst for? Okay, so if you have a child who has seasonal allergies, allergic rhinitis, or hay fever, lots of runny nose, itchy eyes, sneezing, especially during springtime allergies, seasonal allergies, allergic to pollen, grass, trees, environmental allergies, you could consider adding a supplement called Dehyst Junior. That's for kids who are over 12. Snifflex is with NAC is for kids who are over 2. That's by a company called Creekside Naturals. It offers holistic support for histamine overload with, so it's basically a combination of vitamin C, bromelain, stinging nettles, and N-acetylcysteine. And these supplements, they don't just mask symptoms like allergy medicine does, like Claritin, Zyrtec, all of those. They're all the same. Benadryl, it's all the same. It masks allergy symptoms. These supplements work slowly to support your child's body naturally, and they really do need to be used for about 4 weeks for maximum effect. So it's not going you're not going to see like a big difference right away, but it's a very supportive process. And we're kind of running out of time. So if you're looking for more information on this, check out the module about histamine, about when to use His Junior or Snifflex and why it works. Okay, so I hope that helps. So I think we're super out of time. So I really do very much appreciate today's call. Thank you so much for being here, for allowing me to be the vessel of information for you. I really hope it helps. If you have questions between our live calls, please ask in the group. I respond in about a day, sometimes 2 days. One last answer is Mylene asks, can you remind us which juice you recommend? I like Hurom, Hurom. I wouldn't get the super expensive one. They're already expensive, but get like the most simple one. It's a great one. Hurom. That's the one I like. Oh, Omega is another really, really good one. That's a really good one too. Those are the two I recommend. All right. I hope everybody has a very, very fantastic week ahead. Please look out for, in a couple of days, I'll post our lives for February, and we'll take it from there. And next time we'll meet, we will talk about skincare products. Okay, so healing is from the inside out and outside in as well. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.